Now watch how Jesus responds to someone that everyone else had written off. Jesus desires to re-family the very lost. Jesus, not always us, but Jesus desires to re-family the very lost. When we say lost, here's what we mean. We mean somebody who is at odds morally with God, doesn't know where to go, doesn't know what to do. They're maybe even defiant against God or other rules. And the Bible called them lost. They're little sheep that are off on their own somewhere, and they're just going in circles. And even though we might think they're just the worst person in the world, Jesus says, I see them, and I want them, and I'm going to go after them. In fact, I'm going to go down into Jericho. Don't even need to go there, but I want to get to this guy. It's the last little mission I'm going to do before I go to the cross. I could go to the cross without it, but I want to make sure. I've been thinking about Zacchaeus. Nobody else likes him, but I like him. And I'm going to go and talk to him and spend the night at his place and all Sabbath with him. Even though the other people would think this dude is a pariah. Jesus says, I know his name. He says, Zacchaeus. He's not coming for anybody random. He's coming for Zacchaeus. I must stay at your house. It's a divine appointment. It is a necessity. He has been sent by the Father to retrieve Zacchaeus. Does anyone remember what it's like to realize Jesus was sent to retrieve you? Yeah. That you were that little sheep going in circles. And Jesus could have just left you alone. He was like, no, I'm going to go get them. I'm going to soften their heart. I'm going to open their heart. I'm going to open their eyes, and I'm going to bring them back to the Father. Jesus says, preemptively, I accept you. He says before anybody else. We even see this by the fact that he's eating a meal with him. He says right out loud, I need to come have a meal with you. I'm going to stay with you tonight, Zacchaeus. Saying that publicly is saying, I approve of this guy. Whatever y'all think, I'm willing to say out loud, I'm going with this guy tonight. That's ginormous. Some of you may know about John Newton. He was a slave trader. One night he got into a bad storm and began to cry out to God, and God began to soften his heart. And as time went by, he began to see what a wretch he was to participate in the human trafficking slave trade. And so he turns away from it. He becomes an abolitionist. He becomes a pastor. And he writes words that are one of the most famous worship songs in the history of the world. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Now, we probably would have looked at John Newton and be like, nope, there's no way, dude. Look how bad this guy is. Look how much he's hurting the world by participating in this. And yet, he was turnable. Jesus got a hold of his heart. And how much good this dude has done for the planet just through that song. Here's what we got to understand about Jesus. See, we're tempted to write people off. But Jesus sees all the little Zacchaeuses, and he says, I see their potential and the potential that grace can bring about in their life. Jesus, now hear this. You got to hear this, church people. Drop your theology for a second. Drop it. Hear this. Just hear it from God's word, okay? Jesus accepts people before they change. Jesus accepts people before they change. Now, here's what all these people would have wanted to happen. They would have wanted, all right, well, Zacchaeus, get your act together, okay? So first and foremost, apologize to everybody. Give everybody their stuff back, and then spend about 20 years showing us that you've really changed. That's how they would have been. But Jesus accepts him first. So have you got anybody that you're hesitant to accept? Maybe there's a student. They're like, girl who shows up drunk every Wednesday. I don't know what to do with her. She's your Zacchaeus. Or maybe there's one of the parents that is occasionally there at the soccer game, because the truth is they're an absentee parent. And you look at them and you're like, what are you doing? And you can't imagine that really they're going to ever have any kind of a turnaround. Or you've got a family member that's, truth is, dude, they're just cynical. They're cynical about faith. And every time it comes up, they're tearing it down. And you can't imagine that Zacchaeus ever doing anything different than that. But is it possible that in their hearts they're not telling anybody? Maybe they're like Jonathan, or maybe they're like Zacchaeus. They're having little conversations with God because they realize there's something in my life that is not working. This isn't happening. And so they're looking at their life, and they look at Jesus. And they're looking at their life. Now, they're not going to say anything, but then they look at Jesus. And they're taking little baby steps. I'm just going to take one little baby step.